All right. Happy Saturday, everyone. I hope you're all doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome to our Saturday Continuing Education call. And we have a very, very special guest today, one of my favorite humans on this earth. And I know there's many people that are here that feel the same way, Dhyana Masla. And she's going to be guiding us in our first ever Ayurvedic and essential oils class. And this is a 30-minute, 40-minute class where she's going to be introducing us into this ancient science of healing that comes from India. So we know that there's so much depth, but we're excited to be introduced to this world. And she comes from a lineage of Ayurvedic practitioners. Her and her father and her sister founded Yoga Veda, which is a Yoga Alliance certified school for utilizing and uniting philosophy, lifestyle, and the science of yoga and Ayurveda. And she also just released a book called Ayurveda Mama, which is especially supportive for pregnancy and birth and the mother. So she's a wealth of knowledge. At the end, certainly I'm going to ask her to link up, or I'll link it up in the chat, her book and courses you can attend with her and her husband as well. She really is a family of healers. But I'm going to just go ahead and turn it over to you, Dhyana.
Thank you so much, Avesa. I feel like my heart is bursting right now, seeing so many of you. Pooja's here, Renee's here. Oh my goodness. Magali's here. All of you, thank you so much. Dominique's here. So many people that I've gotten to meet in person, and then also so many people that I've gotten to meet in my last few classes, like Bobby, Lisa. Um, just so grateful also for all the new faces that are joining me today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to really seek deeper. I always feel like people that are interested in learning more about oils or Ayurveda, these holistic ways of living, it's ultimately we're seeking a deeper life. We know that healing happens when we turn inwards, and I'm just so grateful to be in Sangha or in a community of people that have that same interest. And so as we begin, I know Avesa queued for just grabbing an oil if you do have one. Um, if any of you weren't here in that opening, if you do have any essential oils at home, I'm going to be using lavender because I recently learned that lavender is amazing for the throat chakra. So for opening and speaking truth. And my prayer is really that, yeah, that I can be an instrument of something really valuable and important that you need to hear. You as an individual, each one of you need to hear today to move closer towards healing. And so if you do have an oil, just put 1 or 2 drops on your hand. Just rub your hands together and keep breathing. One thing, it's amazing. It's something that we do for our entire life from the moment we're born to the moment we leave this body is breathe. But not often are we very conscious of our breaths. And so just go ahead and cup your hands over your face. And as long as you didn't use some peppermint or something that might be a little too close for comfort, but you can bring it towards your face. You can close your eyes. And just first go ahead and exhale completely wherever you are. So draw your belly button all the way back into your spine. On an inhale, feel your low belly, push it out, mid belly, upper chest, shoulders a little bit more at the top. And exhale, shoulders, mid belly, and empty. And so continue breathing like this. At any moment, you can bring your palms to your heart if that feels good, or just rest your palms on your lap and keep your eyes closed. Keep breathing deeply. I'm going to open with a prayer to invoke the grace of my teachers. And if you want to hold a prayer that your heart can receive whatever it is that you're needing to receive today as you listen to these mantras. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatyadesha Darine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And then as you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Welcome back. And so our topic today is Ayurveda and essential oils. And so we're not going to be going deeply into Ayurveda, and we're also not going to be going deeply into essential oils. We're really going to be exploring where these two worlds merge. And then I'll offer resources towards the end of where you can learn more about essential oils, how to use them, and also where you can learn more about Ayurveda. But for me, those of you that have dipped your toes in both worlds, if you saw my post on Instagram, it's this search log where it says oils and Ayurveda, because I was constantly like, where do these two worlds meet? And there's not many resources actually that talk about Ayurveda and essential oils. Many people have asked me, are essential oils Ayurvedic? Has anybody ever wondered that? Are they Ayurvedic? And so my approach to Ayurveda, and we'll get a little bit of this throughout this workshop, is that actually everything is Ayurvedic, because Ayurveda is the study of matter. It's the study of this material world that we live in. And so everything that's made of matter, you can say it's Ayurvedic. So maybe the more proper question to ask instead is, what is this oil's effect? Or what is this matter's effect on this other matter? So everything is Ayurvedic. Even a donut is Ayurvedic, but we just wonder, what is its effect on my body when I eat the donut? And then with that awareness, with that knowledge, we can begin to make choices that serve, make choices that bring us more towards a place of healing rather than a place of disruption, disconnect, or dis-ease. And so everything is Ayurvedic, but then when we begin to understand the thing's nature, we can begin to utilize it in ways that actually serve. And so this is our flow for this afternoon or this evening or this morning, wherever you are in the world. Understanding Ayurveda, so we'll have a brief overview. Ayurveda and plant allies. And so how does Ayurveda approach plant medicine or the use of plants as medicine? Blends versus single oils when using oils to heal. And then Vata, Pitta, and Kapha balancing oils. And so maybe you've never heard of Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, but by the end of this workshop, you'll have a little understanding about what each one of these are. So what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old holistic medical system that integrates mind, body, and soul. And so we see just from that sentence, Ayurveda is a holistic form of medicine in the same way that essential oils, they offer holistic care. And so what does holistic even mean? Holistic really honors and acknowledges that you cannot separate the health of the mind from the health of the body and the spirit. The health of the body with the health of the mind or the spirit. And so you cannot separate different aspects of yourself thinking that if just my body is healthy, then I'm healthy. But if we haven't dealt with the mind, then we're actually not experiencing perfect health. And so Ayurveda really looks at the whole person, mind, body, emotions, even lifestyle, relationships, purpose in life, connection to source, in order to see a very holistic perspective of health and healing. Like, for example, can you just maybe close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself cutting a lemon in half and licking the lemon. Lick the lemon. Okay, did anything happen physiologically when you lick that lemon? Just raise your hand if something happened in your body. Yeah, Dominique, Pooja. Did anybody salivate? Yeah. So that right there, it's an example that shows that when you think something, If you think of it like with enough focus, and if you think of it like clearly enough, your body actually doesn't know the difference of whether it's real or not. Our body will actually have a physiological response as if we were licking a lemon. And so every single thought that we have actually has an effect on our physiology, has an effect on our body. And so Ayurveda actually says that all disease, well, the first cause of disease is we've forgotten who we really are. We've forgotten who we are as a spirit. But because of that, we begin to have these thoughts that aren't connected to what's true. Who here has ever had a thought that wasn't true? Yeah, totally. Yeah. In a matter of like moments, we can have so many thoughts that they don't lift us up. They don't connect us to what's real. They don't support us or make us happy. They actually do the exact opposite. And so we begin to have thoughts that begin to create a disconnection from ourself, a disconnection from our source, a disconnection from what's real, which then causes dis-ease. And so that's one amazing thing about essential oils is those of us that have been working with essential oils know that they have such a profound effect on our mind. It's actually one of the most popular and most effective ways to use oils is to simply smell them, because our nose is actually the most direct route to our brain, the most direct route to the brain. All of our other senses, so our eyes, our ears, our mouth, and our skin, they have to take all of these different neural pathways in order to eventually reach the brain. Whatever we smell goes directly to the limbic system, which is where we store all of our memories. It's where all of our emotions are triggered from. And so essential oils have a profound effect on our mind and our emotions. And if we understand that so much of our physiology, our physical health is affected by our mind, it's like, okay, wow, oils can be a profound way to heal. Though another way that essential oils offer the holistic care that we're really looking for in Ayurveda is that we might use essential oils to heal one thing. Like, for example, you might use rose oil to heal some blemishes on your skin, but then automatically you cannot separate rose's profound effect on healing the heart, on rose's effect of helping the heart integrate any trauma or emotions that we've experienced, and also rose's ability to make life beautiful. It's actually said, if we look at like the mythical energy of rose, rose, if we're having rose tea or rose essential oil or taking rose baths or even just using rose water, it brings in the energy of allowing us to see God's hand in everything that's unfolding in our life. And so you might just be using an oil for one reason, but you can't separate the other effects that it inevitably has on every other aspect, every other layer of your being. And so every single plant, every single essential oil has healing properties for every single aspect of who you are, which is very, very profound.
Hey Dhyana, I hate
Yeah.
to interrupt, but the slide, we can only see a portion of it. Like it's cut off a little bit on the left, but it's so beautiful.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I just had to move it over on my screen. Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you, Avesa. And so a little bit about Ayurveda. And so Ayurveda understands this entire world that we live in is made up of matter. And if you were in my intro to Ayurveda class, I gave this example of like this cup right here. It's made up of matter. These earbuds are made up of matter. These glasses actually that I should be wearing right now are made up of matter. This computer is made up of matter. And then this body that I'm in is made up of the same exact elements that make up this cup or these glasses or these earbuds or anything else that is made up of matter. But what is different about this lump of matter than this lump of matter? And that's what Ayurveda teaches is the soul. There's something inside of this lump of matter that makes it conscious, that gives it life, that we don't see necessarily in a cup or in these earbuds. And so that Ayurveda says that is who we really are. But we live in this world and we live in a body that is made up of matter. So I begin to think that I am matter. I begin to think that I am matter. And so that's where all disease starts, because I've forgotten who I really am. I don't know how to interact and engage with the world. And so these great Vaidyas or teachers of Ayurveda, these great seers, they saw that all of matter is made up of these five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And so that means everything that's made up of matter is a combination of these five elements, meaning that your body is a unique combination of these five elements. Some of us may have a little bit more earth than we do air. Some of us might have a little more fire than we do ether. And so again, each one of us has a very unique combination of these five elements that make up our constitution or our ideal state of health. But because of life, things happen. There's different stressors that happen. Maybe we eat things that, who here like eats foods that they know they're going to feel like crap afterwards, but it's so good you eat it anyways. Has anybody ever done anything like that? Yeah. It's like we know that there's certain things that throw us out of balance. Or like who here has ever watched a scary movie, even though they know that like I'm never going to be able to go to sleep after this? I don't watch scary movies anymore because I've done that one too many times. But it's like we do things even though we know they're going to throw us out of balance. And so whether it's life circumstance or our choices or even the time of day, the season, life happens and we tend to move out of balance. And so all of Ayurveda, its philosophy, is meant to bring us the knowledge and the wisdom so that we can choose things that bring us back into that ideal state of health. And so here on the right, you see the three doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And how I like to explain the doshas are they're simply bundles of qualities. And this is what we'll be using when we explore essential oils relationship to Ayurveda. And so Vata, you can think of as the combination of the qualities that you can think of when you think of ether and air. So for example, when you think of ether and air elements, do you think heavy or light? Light. Yeah, thanks, David. You're welcome to use your hands as any sign language. Thanks. Do you think hot or cold? Cold. Yeah, because there's no fire in there, so it's cold. Do you think stable or moving? Yeah, thanks, Pooja. Moving. Thanks for nominating. It's moving. And so Vata dosha, you can think of when you see the qualities of light, dry, mobile, cold. And so when somebody has a lot of Vata already in their constitution, they're likely to be, they're more creative people. They're very adaptable. They love to travel. If somebody has too much Vata in their constitution, they'll tend to have dry skin. They might have bloating or constipation. They might have anxiety or fear or a feeling of being ungrounded or unstable. So that's how Vata dosha shows up in excess. Has anybody experienced any of those things before that I just mentioned? All of us. Yeah, because likely there's been times in our life where we've had a Vata imbalance. Pitta, it's a combination of fire and water. And so Pitta people who naturally have a healthy amount of Pitta, they're very focused, driven, innovative. They're amazing presenters and speakers. But when you have too much Pitta, which we've probably all experienced at certain points in our life, we tend to be angry or more frustrated easier. We tend to be more judgmental or critical of ourselves, but also other people. In our body, it can show up as heartburn, acid reflux, rashes on our skin, or acne. Has anybody ever experienced any of those things? Yeah, because we've all had times in our life where we've had too much pitta in our body. And then kapha, it's water and earth. So these are the more dense and heavy elements. They're the two elements that actually, that gravity is just totally takes them. And so water and earth, it's heavy, it's cold. So somebody who has a good amount, a healthy amount of kapha is very nourishing, nurturing, loving, loyal, kind. But somebody who has too much kapha, which we've likely all experienced at some point in our life, we tend to feel stuck or stagnant or heavy, dull, depressed. In our body, it can show up as just like a very slow digestion. Maybe we're just never hungry. It feels like we're always full. In our skin, it can show up as excess moisture. And so edema, any swelling or water retention. Has anybody here ever experienced any of those things? Yeah, and so that means that we've all had at some point in our life a kapha imbalance. And so here we see that the equation for health and healing in Ayurveda, again, this is whether it's a super simple imbalance, like, oh, I have dry skin, to a super acute or chronic condition. This is the equation. Like increases like, and opposite bring balance. So we look at the qualities inherent within an imbalance. So, for example, if you have anxiety, anxiety is very light, right? It's that like kind of restless feeling, that lifted feeling. It's very moving. It's not like this stable, grounded, heavy experience. It's always moving. It's this feeling of not being able to rest. And so you look at the qualities inherent within the imbalance, whether it's physical, emotional, mental. And then the equation is we bring in medicine, whether it's diet, lifestyle habits, oils, herbs that bring in the opposite qualities. It's an example I give, like increases like, which means if you're cold and you drink cold water, you're going to get colder. Opposites bring it balance. If you're cold and you drink warm water, it's going to balance you out. So in the realm of oils, if you're really dry and you use an oil that has a drying effect, it's going to make you drier, which means it's going to move you more towards a state of imbalance or dis-ease. But if you're dry and you use an oil with a more moistening quality, then it's going to bring about balance and ease. And so this is very, very helpful. And it becomes, we kind of become like researchers. Because if someone is bloated or experiencing anxiety or fear, we can understand they have excess vata. Is everybody following? If you're bloated, if you have dry skin, if you have anxiety, fear, there's excess air and ether. We have too much air and ether in our bodies. So vata is already cold. So rather than using, say, peppermint oil, which is amazing for digestion, so it says vata person is bloated. We're like, oh, amazing, you're bloated. Peppermint is amazing for bloating. There might be a better oil because peppermint is also very cooling, which will increase the cold that is already inherent in vata. So maybe instead of peppermint oil, we choose, say, ginger, which is also amazing for digestion. It's amazing for bloating, but it has a warming effect, which will then balance out the cold quality of vata. Another example is if someone has diarrhea, there's so many plants that can support digestion. Again, there's so many different plants that can support digestion. But when we understand that diarrhea is a pitta imbalance, which means when you have diarrhea, it means you have excess heat in your body. You have excess heat in your body. We want to choose a digestive oil that brings the opposite quality, which means it's cooling. So maybe instead of using a hot oil like ginger, which is good for digestion but increases the heat, we want to use here maybe peppermint or clove, which aren't heating. Does this make sense? So just bring in oils that have the opposite qualities to bring in balance. Again, because there's so many oils that we can use for one thing, which oil is best? Which oil will actually bring about balance? And that's why with Ayurveda, blends are actually recommended rather than single oils, because you can address or counter different qualities with different oils in one blend. Gunas means qualities. Okay, so Ayurveda's approach to plants, and this is actually one of the most beautiful things and what has really made me become more and more interested in using plants as medicine and entering into that realm. For me, I've always been interested in herbs and wanted to study plants, but it always just felt far too vast to even know where to begin. But then when I began to become interested in essential oils, it felt like a very clear entry point to begin to study these amazing medicines that the universe, that God has provided for us to heal. But Ayurveda's approach to using plants as medicine is just very, very beautiful and brings in a lot of this word reverence or sacredness. And I feel that this word sacred, it simply means it's approached with intention. We're doing it on purpose. We're doing it with intention. And then just that act doing something on purpose brings an experience of sacred or beauty, or these things that make life feel more uplifted. And so Ayurveda acknowledges that these plants, just like us, we're the pure soul that gives life to this form. And the soul, my soul right now, just happens to be in a body that looks like this. Dominique's soul happens to be in a body that looks like that. Sanita's soul is in a body that looks like that. And so it's the same quality of life, but we're all just in these different bodies. And so it said that there's 6 symptoms of life. And so wherever we see these 6 symptoms that matter goes through, we can understand there is a soul there. You don't have to remember this, but I'll just share. It's birth, growth, sustains for a while, has the ability to procreate, dwindles or diseases, and then eventually dies. And so these are, whenever we see matter go through these 6 changes, we can understand there is a soul inside of that form. And so we see that in our human bodies. We're born, we grow, we maintain for a while. We have the ability to procreate if our system is balanced. We eventually will dwindle or disease, and then this form will be finished. So where else do we see those 6 symptoms of life? In every single plant, in every single animal, including the grasshoppers, the ants, the cats, the bears, this human form. And so wherever we see those 6 symptoms of life, we can acknowledge there is a soul there, which means that life is sacred. There's a spark of life that's animating that form. And so that every single plant has a soul. And so when we use plants as medicine, it's not in this mood of only like, what can this plant do for me? I'm going to use this plant for me. But as much as possible, it's really building a relationship with this plant. And those of you that have been using essential oils regularly, or even a tea or an herb that you've been taking consistently, you can really actually recognize that not only do they help to heal your body, but they actually bring in a specific energy to your life. Their personality, quote unquote, so to speak, begins to permeate your entire life. Copaiba is one of the first oils that I began to develop a relationship with, and I've kind of named it the Mama Must Have. Because Copaiba, of course, it helps to heal the nervous system. It supports every single system in the body. But for me, more than anything, this experience of Copaiba, I literally felt like this oil became like a dear friend that I needed to spend time with each day, because Copaiba helped me to feel just more at ease and relaxed and able to meet life's challenges as they came up. And that's just the energy of Copaiba. And so as we sit with different oils, as we begin to develop relationships with different plants, of course, they can heal us in so many ways, physiologically, mentally, emotionally. But more than anything, they bring an energy into our life, which is an energy that if we're using that oil, likely it's one that we're needing. It's one that we're needing to help us feel balanced, more whole, and ultimately more connected to ourselves. And so there's this quote that my herbal medicine teacher says. She says, better than knowing one use of 100 different plants, it's better to know 100 uses of just one. Because like I can sit here and tell you so many different things about lavender. Lavender is very calming. It's an oil that's mostly used for anxiety, for fear, for vata imbalances. It's really good if you have insomnia or stress. I can tell you so many things out of the book about lavender. But when that's like me telling you, like, Avesa, she comes on Zoom and she's wearing glasses and she loves essential oils. It's like telling you all the more superficial things. But when I actually get to spend time with Avesa, it's like I get to experience a whole new realm of the energy that Avesa actually brings into my life. And so it's very similar with oils. You can learn them from the books, but when you actually begin to spend time with them, you get to understand their personality and the energy that they bring into your life. And here in this picture, who here has heard of Tulsi or holy basil? Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing medicine. In India, she is revered as a plant of devotion, and she has incredible spiritually uplifting qualities. She's, actually known to be a person. This is a picture of her as a plant. And this is a picture of her goddess Vrinda Devi, which means the goddess of the forest. She's known to be Krishna's favorite plant, and she's worshipped by devotees all around the world. It's said that she possesses the highest spiritual truth. And so if we not only just use Tulsi so that she can benefit us, but actually develop a relationship with Tulsi, that honors her and the plant medicine and the spirit that she brings into our life, she can actually reveal to us, like from within our own heart, the deepest spiritual truth. And it says that Tulsi, or this Vrinda Devi, this goddess, is responsible for creating the perfect environment for Krishna, which is a name for the one God, the one divine, to have his most amazing, loving pastimes with his divine goddess, Radharani. And so she's responsible for creating an atmosphere of love and devotion. So that's why many devotees of Krishna will wear necklaces with Tulsi around their neck, because and she invokes that mood of bhakti, of devotion. And here's just a quote. There's just so much written in the sacred literature about Tulsi as a person. You can actually get to know her personality and her energy through amazing Vedic literature, which is thousands and thousands of years old. And every single plant has a story like this. Every single plant has a personality and an energy they can bring into your life, as well as, of course, the physiological healing, the mental and emotional healing that they can bring. So I love this quote from Rudolf Steiner. For every human illness, somewhere in the world, there exists a plant which is the cure. I believe that there is a healing potential locked inside of plants, which is integral with their evolution, just as it is a part of human evolution to learn to tap this wonderful gift of nature. That's what we're all doing right now. We're all tapping. I mean, literally, like the divine has instilled all of his or her healing energies into these plants to support us in such profound and holistic ways. So now we'll go into each one of the doshas, and we'll move through this quite quickly, and you're welcome to take screenshots or pictures with your phone just so that you can have these as reference guides for later on. So vata, when there's excess air or ether. So vata already, it's the qualities are cold, light, dry, rough, and mobile. So if you have too much vata, if you have an excess of vata, you'll experience things like anxiety, fear, lack of concentration, bloating, gas, constipation, dry skin, insomnia. So these are simply symptoms of excess air and ether, which come into our body, again, based on time of day, time of life, the season, what we're eating, the people we're hanging out with. And when you study Ayurveda more deeply, you'll understand all the ways that we can get excess vata. And then to balance vata, we want blends that are basically the opposite of these qualities. Because if vata is already cold, light, dry, rough, and mobile, then we want oils that are more warming, grounding, moistening, soothing, nourishing, and stable. So we're going to look for oils with those gunas or with those qualities. And so these are the oils. Of course, there's so many more than just these, but these are amazing oils that will counter those qualities. So we'll balance out vata dosha, which means if you're ever feeling anxiety, fear, overwhelm, ungrounded, if you're ever having to hop on a Zoom call and present something, but your mind is all over the place, diffusing one of these oils or rubbing this on your skin can be very, very supportive for helping you feel more grounded, more calm, more nourished, and more stable. And so you'll see after each one, I just put some of their qualities and how they help to pacify vata. And so I'll just sit here for a moment if anybody's taking notes, or if you do want to take a screenshot or a picture. And so then for our next, we have Pitta dosha. And so Pitta is hot, sharp, spreading, and light. And so if you have an excess of fire energy, an excess of pitta in your body because of your diet, your lifestyle, again, the time of day, the time of year, some symptoms of excess pitta are acne, skin rashes, anger, jealousy. And so to balance out pitta, again, opposites create balance. We want to bring in those opposite qualities of more cooling, calming, soothing, centering, and grounding. And so oils that have that effect are here. And of course, there's so many more, but these are ones I chose that can create a beautiful blend or can be used on their own to counter these different effects. Rose, lavender, sandalwood, wintergreen, coriander, patchouli. And lastly, kapha dosha. And so kapha, if there is a person with more kapha, they're cool, heavy, moist, dull, and stable. Those are just natural qualities that come along with that earth and water element. In excess, if you have too much earth, you'll experience maybe acne. Oh, sorry, these are the pitta ones. I forgot to change that one. So in excess, if there's kapha, you'll experiencing this more that heavy feeling in your stomach, the water retention, the feelings like depression or dullness or lack of enthusiasm or inspiration in life. And so to balance out the kapha, you want to bring in warm, light, drying, more sharpening, and mobile. So things that help the circulation move. And so these are oils like eucalyptus, ravensara, basil, sage, ginger, and rosemary. So these are all oils that are more lightening. They have a more drying effect. They're warming. Really good for circulation and for the respiratory system, which has a lot of kapha, a lot of extra mucus. It's also right now it's kapha season. I know some of you are doing the spring cleanse with me. We're going to be really moving any excess kapha from our body and from our mind during the cleanse, because right now in the spring is when that tends to come up. And then here's my final page with contact info. And I also want to open up for questions. So I think I'm going to stop the share for now so I could look at the chat and see if anybody has questions. And then I'll share that final page at the end. So any questions, please unmute if you have any questions.
Hi, Dhyana.
Hi, Vrindavani.
Hi, Krishna. I just have a quick question that obviously Ayurveda is always moving, you know, it's moving with seasons, it's moving with time of day, it's but our dosha is obviously relatively fixed, but can obviously change also. Yeah. How is it possible to kind of have a sense of stability? So you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have our constitution, which we're born with. At the moment of conception, we get what is called prakriti, which is, this is in our ideal state of health, where, you know, a certain percentage vata, a certain percentage pitta, and a certain percentage kapha. And that is, each one of us has a very unique prakriti. That the goal of Ayurveda is to get us back to that percentage, whatever it was at the moment of conception. But again, because of life is very unpredictable and unstable and always changing and moving, that's why our doshas are always changing, which is vikruti, or our state of imbalance. And so what Ayurveda gives us is based on our environment, based on what's happening right now. How do I move more towards balance and away from dis-ease? And so it gives us the knowledge to be able to make decisions. Like an example I gave in my Intro to Ayurveda classes, say it's like the heat of the summer, It's very, very hot outside, and you decide to go to a hot yoga class, and then after yoga class, go have some spicy Mexican food, it's probably going to make you a lot hotter and move you more towards a state of imbalance or dis-ease. But if you had the knowledge of, okay, opposites bring balance. And so, it's the heat of the summer. So instead of going to a hot yoga class, you chose like a restorative yoga class that's a lot more cooling and gentle. And instead of having spicy food, you had more fresh, cooling fruits. Then you move more towards balance. And so it's really Ayurveda, it's amazing. It teaches us how to live on purpose, how to make choices in every moment that bring us towards health rather than dis-ease based on what's real right now. And so with Ayurveda, we always treat the imbalance. If you wake up and you feel very, very dry, if our habit is we want to go have a cup of coffee, once we know Ayurveda, we know that coffee is even more drying. What would actually be more helpful? What would actually bring me more towards balance and away from dis-ease? So when you understand the qualities and the habits, the exercise, the foods, then it's really a moment to moment to moment practice. What am I choosing? What am I choosing? And then we begin to choose things that bring us more towards prakriti, or our ideal state of health. Does that answer your question, Vrindavani? Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I also got a question. I'm working in a kindergarten, and I would like to use essential oils for the kids, because we have some kids that have some problems, and I would like to support them. So my question is, are there oils that I can use for all constitutions that don't create imbalance? Because I don't know exactly which oils to use with them. It's just I want to use something calming.
Yeah. And so a lot of people are actually afraid of Ayurveda because they think it's very, very rigid. But my approach to Ayurveda, and really just what I've seen over the years, is that unless somebody is in a really acute or chronic state of imbalance, little things here and there are not going to throw you off. That's why I shared with Avesa once that I went to the playground. I have a little son, and there was a mama there that she's like famous for her donuts that she sells at the farmer's market. And I was like, oh man, I can't wait to come try one of your vegan donuts. And she was like, oh my gosh, I never thought that you would say that. You're so Ayurvedic. But for me, it's like, most of my life, I choose things that I know will help me feel healthy and vibrant and dynamic, so that every once in a while I can have a donut, every once in a while I can have ice cream, every once in a while I can do something that I know it's not like good for me without it completely knocking me over, And so for most of our life, if we're generally balanced, then none of these oils are going to throw somebody into a state of dis-ease, a state of imbalance. And so I would imagine, if you teach a kindergarten and there's kids that are there playing, they're generally in a state of balance, and none of these oils are going to affect them negatively. So it's more if you're like working, or even if it's with yourself, wanting to experiment more on specific imbalances, these oils are very, very safe, and at the same time very, very effective. So it's amazing to have medicine that's safe and also effective simultaneously. But it's very, very unlikely that you'll throw them into a state of disease by diffusing any of these oils. And so I would just more look at the qualities that you're hoping to enhance in your classroom, and then choose oils that bring in those qualities.
Super good. Thank you.
Thank
I got another question because I missed to make the screenshot in time of the Pitta oils that you were showing on the screen. Could you go back to that maybe later on?
Definitely. At the end, I'll go back to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
I have a question. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed listening to you and hearing about this. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I really loved what you said about learning the one and really staying with the one. As a Chinese herbalist, that was very helpful for me to learn and also get into the oils. But I'm wondering, in terms of Ayurvedic treatment, like picking a blend and then staying with it and working with it for a longer period of time, is that something you would recommend?
Totally. Yeah. I think if we really want to study herbs and medicine, it can be helpful to just use one and really get to know the energy of that plant. What my teacher recommended was just use one oil for a month, and that will really give you a good insight into the energy of that plant. But if you're working with a blend that, that you already know is being supportive of whatever imbalances that you're wanting to balance out, um, you'll see the harmony and how these plants work well together. And my teacher calls it the art of herbal medicine rather than the science, because art involves intuition, and it's not always like really looking at it. Sometimes it's just like, I feel like rose and cardamom would work really beautifully together. And then you start using rose and cardamom and you start to feel the energy. It's like, if it's just me, there's a certain energy, but if it's me and Avesa, there's a whole different dynamic that isn't there if it's just one of us. And so you can get to know the energy of those specific blends by using them over time together. Thank you, Dana.
I have a quick question about flower essence.
Sorry, Barbara, I didn't get your question.
Flower essence.
What about it?
Is that commonly used? Do you use them? What are your thoughts on it?
I think flower essences are beautiful. They are a very subtle form of medicine. And Ayurveda actually says that it's the very, very subtle things that have the most profound effect. And so definitely flower essences are very, very powerful. And especially if you're, working with pregnant mamas or postpartum mamas or newborns, people that have a lot more sensitivity, where oils are very, very potent. And so if you're working with a population that has more sensitivity, you'll want to dilute them a lot. Flower essences are always very, very safe. You never have to worry about those. And so I think that they're wonderful forms of medicine for sure.
Thank you.
It's actually said that flower essences have a more potent effect on the spirit, where oils really, really work with matter, which is the mind, emotions, body. So I do want to share the screen one last time for anybody that might be signing out, because we're getting close to 3.
Can I ask a question?
Mila, yes.
Yes. I wonder, what is Ayurvedic point of view on plants that has been used for spiritual realizations? And I'm talking about plants that, they can call like hallucinations, like mushrooms or ayahuasca.
Yeah. It's actually said that with these plants, of course, they're very, very powerful, though they tend to have an effect where at first they open up all the channels, and so they can create a lot of vision. But then after, the effect can be that they constrict or restrict the channels. And so there tends to be a more closing of the energy. And so one of my teachers, Dr. Ladd, he says that they can show you, they can open a door, but ultimately we have to walk through it ourselves, which means that we have to do the work in our life. And so it's important there's that integration. We have to walk through, we have to live it. We have to live whatever vision or realization came through those experiences in order to actually integrate their medicine.
Mm-hmm. But it's not like Ayurveda is against it, right?
No, you'll find different teachers that are for or against different things. But again, Ayurveda isn't really in itself, it's not for or against anything. We just look at what are its effects. It's like alcohol isn't good or bad, but what are its effects? Does it uplift you? Does it support you? Does it make you feel vibrant and healthy? Is it good for your relationships? Or does it do the opposite? Does it deplete you? Does it drain you? Does it disconnect you? And so we look at the substance and we say, what are its effects? And that's the study of Ayurveda.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mila.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you say we all have our own prakriti,
Yeah.
and how do we find what that is so that we can work towards balancing?
Yeah, and so there's many ways. The best way is to see an Ayurvedic doctor or practitioner. There's 8 main ways to diagnose. They'll take your pulse, they'll look at your eyes, your tongue, your skin. They'll ask you about your poop and your pee. And then they'll be able to tell you, they'll ask you questions about your childhood, and they'll be able to come up with what is your constitution, the ideal state of health that we always want to come back to. Or another way is education. I wanted to share with you all a 3-week course that I'll be starting tomorrow, actually, that will really likely, many of you will be able to say, oh, okay, I'm definitely Pitta, or oh, okay, I'm definitely mostly Kapha, just through the first class that we'll be having tomorrow. And so through education, you can see what is your constitution, and also what are the main ways that you go out of balance and how to come back. And so again, the best way is see an Ayurvedic practitioner who can check your pulse and ask you all the questions. And then the next way is through education, you'll very, very likely be able to identify your constitution, as well as how to balance out your very unique, but also universal imbalances. And so for that, I know that, Avesa, how are we with questions? Do we usually end at like 2:30 sharp?
Yeah,
we were a little bit afterwards.
No, that's okay. We were opening it up a little bit because it's just your share is just so beautiful. I think let's do one more question. Renee asked, do you recommend ingesting essential oils or diffusing them?
There's 3 main ways to use them, and I'll actually send you all a link to my Ayurveda 101 class. It's on YouTube, where I talk about those 3 main ways. One way is diffusing them, which is just like in a diffuser, or even just holding the oil to your nose or putting it in your hand like we did in smelling them. Another way is using them topically. Most of them are best used in a carrier oil, and it just goes into your bloodstream, circulates around your entire system. Your organs will pull from that oil exactly what it needs. Your energy body will begin to harness the energy of that oil, and then it'll be excreted through your waste. And then the third way is ingesting them, which I would only ever ingest doTERRA essential oils because I have 100% confidence that they are pure essential oils. And then there's different ones that you would want to dilute in very specific ways that I'm happy to share more about, either one-on-one, or if you might get the answer in the class that I'll send you via email. But yeah, those are the 3 main ways to use them.
Wonderful.
Okay, so I have a few offerings. Is it okay if I share them, Avesa?
Please do. Yes, please do.
Okay. So here's my Instagram. I'm pretty alive on there. I try to share something every day. So please connect with me there. Here's my email. If anybody has specific questions, I usually respond within a few days. I have a little angel, and so I'm not always super responsive the same day. Here's my book. Avesa shared in the comments section a link to find that. And then, like I said, I have a 3-week Ayurveda course coming up. It's usually $300, but I'd love to offer anybody who's doing these free classes with me a deal to join for just $100, and I'll send that link in the follow-up email. Anybody who joined through my link, I have your email. And so if you didn't join through me, just put your email in the comments and I'll send it to you. Also, I have a special that I'll be offering that if you want to order a doTERRA essential oils kit, I'll add a bunch of details in the email. There's amazing benefits through that, but I'll be offering a free wellness consultation where we can really dive into what are your unique imbalances and how can oils support you in coming back to balance. And so I'll send you a link to order the kit that I recommend. And then we'll be able to schedule a one-on-one consult where we can just go into what are you needing? What are you wanting to receive, and how can oils, diet, lifestyle support you with that? I think that those are my 2 main things that I wanted to share with you all. And I'll send it all in the email. So again, if you didn't give me your email through registering through my site, just put it there in the comments and I'll send it to you.
Amazing. Dhyana, thank you so much for being who you are, this wisdom keeper, for transmitting beautiful knowledge. I think so many of us are here that are brand new and have learned so much, something new that they can integrate for their harmony in their life. But then also those of us that have been working with essential oils, this just deepened our relationship profoundly. So thank you so much, Dhyana.
It was such an honor. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you all so much for joining. Wow, what a gift. What a beautiful way to spend my Saturday.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, So I'm going to stop the recording.